at the moment there's not that many IMAscore music on Spotify or digital kind of Spotify or Apple Music. Is it possible to see in the future more music on Spotify?
We're working on that because we have some of our own releases. For example, the release for Heide Park Resort and Liseberg. These CDs are not sold at the park. The park does not think that this might work. We sell it exclusively in our shop physically. But after they are now released for about 2 or 3 years, and there will be a sequel to it, a new CD with all the new music. The old ones will quite sure come on Spotify or on the digital online stores for music. We try to produce, if we have the time, also our own music in a way that we don't produce it for a project, just for releasing purposes. That happens. We released Budapest, our orchestral EP, about a month ago, which was not for a theme park, which was just to be released on Spotify and so on. That happens. But it's always the park's decision what to do with the music. If we produce music for a park, it's the park's decision to do so. And we're fine with that. Sometimes we're not even allowed to sell the CDs in our shop. That also happens. Sometimes we're allowed to sell it. It always differs from client to client.
So do you own the rights of the music, or is it at the parks?
The park owns the exclusive rights of use in most of the cases. Because we want to make it easy for every client. To explain it, there are 2 ways, actually there are many details about it, but there are actually 2 ways on giving rights on music in Europe. You can give the exclusive rights of use, which means the client owns all the rights of use to do whatever he wants. Now go into detail and say he's not allowed to do it for commercial, just like this, but exclusive is exclusive. And there's music that is not exclusive, which also can be used by other clients. So this is the main difference, but like I said, most of the music we do is totally exclusive.
Thank you.
How was it to work on 2 different projects with both medieval style of music?
I think
for movie park and forever.
Difficult. It was because from the very beginning we knew that the difference must be big enough. That was important because on the one hand we're very happy to work with Movie Park, on the other hand we're very happy to work with Toverland. So it was important for us to make a huge difference in style and also especially in terms of melody. But that's actually the easiest thing, because writing different melodies isn't that hard. Even though finding the melody is hard, to make it different isn't that big of a challenge. What is a challenge is if the client says, yeah, we want evil medieval music, and the other client says, we want also evil medieval music. That would have been very difficult, but in this case it was like that Toverland liked to have this more positive, a little bit of dreamy atmospheric music, while Movie Park, they thought the Merlin way a little bit to make it more evil, a little bit more dangerous, and the other side of epic. Anyone else? Yeah.
When will the music for Portugal Lagoon and F1 be released on CD?
I was waiting for
What am I allowed to say? There are people at the moment putting together these cities. Right now. It happens right now. I'm waiting for the delivery date, which I'll receive approximately the beginning of next week. Because there are quite a lot of CDs to produce, so many hands putting together the CDs at the moment, so it will be very, very soon. I know we say that for 2 months now, but it's very soon.
And you put the CDs in the cases in the same studio where you compose?
Oh no! Oh god, no! No, there's a production company doing it. There's what's called in English, cellophane.
Cellophane, yeah.
So it's really a production company doing it. They're working with all the huge labels also in Germany. So it's a company we usually work with. We produce all the CDs with.
Pointing on this, how hard is it to make theme park music with basically loops all the way around, all the time, and to transform that to music that you put on the CD, which usually have a beginning and an end?
That's actually what makes soundtrack CDs whole projects for themselves. Many times when we produce this 30-minute loops, we already work in parts. We say, okay, 2 composers work on that, and they're all doing, one does 3 minutes, the other does 2 minutes, then 4 minutes, and we put together this whole loop. Because if one composer would do this 30 minutes of music, on the one hand, it wouldn't be finished that fast, and on the one hand, and that's even more important, it can very quickly sound boring. Because one composer in a 30-minute piece of music, if he has ideas for 15 minutes, the other 15 minutes will be just a copy of himself. So that's why we already have this single parts. But most of the times we can't use them for the CD because they don't have a beginning or ending. And that's why the CD tracks most of the times consists of 1, 2, or 3 different pieces of that put together, and we give them a beginning and an end, which is actually a new production, a new composition. And then it's the CD. So that's, and just to explain why we don't put the 30 minutes on CD, first of all, the parks, of course, like to have something exclusive at their parks. This 30 minutes there, this loop should be something exclusive to be heard on site. To have the single tracks, individually produced tracks, gives us the chance to make the CD a listening experience, because otherwise you would just have the theme park music and that's all. But this way we can really have tracks that are more calm, then more adventurous, so it really, it feels good to listen to it on CD. If you listen to theme park music, to a 30-minute theme park music loop at home, it wouldn't work that well without the theme park around you. But a CD must work without a theme park, and that's why it's important to put it together very individually.
What is the longest track like area music or Q-line music you ever made?
That was 140 minutes of music for Valkyria. It's really a huge piece of music for Liseberg, and it's epic from the beginning to the end. So it was very difficult to produce because there are no calm parts. It's all this Ride of the Valkyries classical piece of music by Richard Wagner and our own theme, and it just, it's brutal. Like it should be brutal. That was all the reference we got.
100 minutes on Q9 or?
The 130 minutes, yes, Q9. Yeah, it was. They also do that for their employees. The station, for example, has it was 70 minutes of music just in the station, and you spend 5 minutes there, actually. But it's for the employees. It's not necessary from our point of view. We would have put a lot more into the queue line because you're waiting there for 3 hours, and that makes sense. From our point of view and from our chats with several employees in theme parks, after 5 minutes or after a few days that you're working at a station, you don't hear the music anymore. So it's not that necessary, but it's their decision to do so. We're fine with that. Anyone else? Yeah.
What was for IMAscore the biggest first project for a theme park? Which theme park was the first for IMAscore?
Heide Park. It was Heide Park Resort. We sent an inquiry to them. We sent a demo to them. They told us they don't like the demo. But still, they invited us to talk about the music. And then it all started. And we never thought that this would continue. We thought that we produce a few minutes of music for a theme park, and that's all. That's all our business with theme parks. We've been enthusiasts before. We traveled to Europe and visited theme parks, and still we never founded IMAscore to produce music for theme parks. It was just, yeah, by accident, suddenly we're in this industry, and it's great.
Before you worked on theme park music, did you like theme parks as well? Or?
Yeah, we've been enthusiasts as well. We visited a lot of parks in Europe. And we also talked about the music, but never really thought about working with them. We tried once, and it worked, surprisingly, and that's good. It's because we are enthusiasts. We love to ride roller coasters. We love to visit theme parks, and that's, I think, you need to be an enthusiast to succeed in working for this industry, because otherwise it's really hard to understand their needs and why music has to work this or that way. You need to love to ride roller coasters, because otherwise you don't get the excitement and you don't understand how to put that excitement into music, from our point of view.
How many rides of Phoenix did you have already?
Not so many, unfortunately. I think it was 2 or 3. That's not so much. I wasn't actually this morning. It's not her fault. It's my fault. I was breakfasting with my little one and my wife. When they came here, I could have ride a lot more this morning. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But yeah, we will come back here very soon. We need to do some sort of making up. So we're working on. Yeah. So unfortunately, not so many, but it's a great ride.
What's the favorite music you ever made by IMAscore?
It differs a lot from composer to composer, and also from our employees. That's really hard to judge. There are too many, because it's like if you have in our case, if you have 100 childs, you can say, okay, I like this one the most. That's hard. Yeah. That's too hard.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Do you only work for European theme parks, also worldwide?
Worldwide. We do quite a lot of music for South Korea at the moment, and for China, which is really different than working for theme parks in Europe. Their ideas about music and how to work actually are very, very different. But still, yeah, it's possible to work with them. We work for theme parks in the US, but just a very, very few. Like for Kings Island, we produce the music for Mystic Timbers, and a lot of for Lego parks all over the world. But yes, of course, it started with Merlin, and now we're working for international parks. Yeah, but most of the time we work for European theme parks.
Could you elaborate on the Asian parks?
Sorry?
Could you elaborate on the work with Asian parks? Because I personally traveled to Asia, and there are, let's say, unique examples of music in those parks.
They, the music they want to have is like the briefing for Alton Towers ride with Smiler. The briefing for Alton Towers Smiler ride was make it annoying, like a fun, what's it called? A factory of fun. And I feel it feels like all the Chinese parks like to create factories of fun. The music it needs to be over the top all the time. But I think that's also a part, you can't compare China, Japan, and it's hard to compare them. But still, I feel like Asians like to go over the top with music as well. Don't know why. It's part of the culture.
Talking about Alton Towers, is also going to be in CD for the music?
Hopefully, we work on that. To be honest, we work on that since 2 years. It will come in the future. I'm sure. I'm very, very sure it will come. But we're telling that we receive daily questions regarding this, and we can just say, yeah, we're working on that, and we can't decide for our own to do so. We would love to, but we can't. For Thor Park Resort, it was possible. They said, yeah, you can do whatever you want, do a CD, it would be great if you can sell it, we don't want to sell it in the park. Okay, so we did it. On Alton Towers it's a little bit more difficult, but they're enthusiastic about that, we're enthusiastic, but you need to understand that a CD is not always the most important thing for a theme park to do. It's, but it's different from every theme park to theme park. For Toverland, music is very, very important, and they are really want to have this CD, and Tessa is asking me very often about that. So we completed it, we sent it to the production company. It's very, very important to have this CD. For other parks, it isn't important. They don't even want to sell the music, even though a CD in production just costs for about 50 cents or up to €1. It still does not bring that much back that it makes it important. You know, it's easier to sell some sort of animal for €30. Might be better for them. I don't know if this is the cause. I'm not sure. We love to have music of CDs of all our music, but that's not always possible.
What park is on your bucket list to work for?
Oh, there are a few. In Europe, there are, for example, of course, there's Efteling. It would be cool, but on the other hand, they have great music, and that's okay. We talked with them, and we also said that we quite sure do not fit with what they like to have, and that's totally okay for us. We don't need to work for every park. Of course, from my business side of view, I like to work for every park, and it's cool. But on the other hand, there are in America some parks like Cedar Point where it would be cool to produce an epic piece of music for an epic ride. But we don't know what happens in the future. We're open for everything, but still it's also important that all our clients can trust us, that that their music stays exclusive and so on. So I think it's quite good to have competitors like the composers that are also working for Europa Park, for Efteling, for the different Walibi parks. I think it's good that there are other composers out there, and many of them are really, really good. And we are in contact with some of them. So even though we have many parks on our bucket list, we're still fine with not working for everyone.
So do you often make an own version of attraction music that you can make a soundtrack of? Like you can make music for everything because they have their own composer. Do you often make own version of music for kind of rides in the park?
And most of the times we don't have the time to just make music just for fun, things like that. If I got you right, we don't reproduce pieces from other composers. That's not what we have time for. Sometimes we had to, for example, our one composer, Sebastian, made a reproduction of the Eurosat theme at the Europa Park. Obviously, we're not doing the Can coaster ride. We do the Valerian VR version at the Europa Park. But still, he was just such a huge fan of the music. He did his own version, just for himself. It will be never released. It's just all gone. But most of the times, we just don't have the time to produce music just for fun, unfortunately. But that's yeah. You know, if you start it as a hobby and it becomes a job, you sometimes stop producing music just for yourself. But that's a part of making it a job, I think.
What is for you the funnest roller coaster ride? What's for you amongst like whoa in every week, every week?
I think I won't survive that. I can ride every roller coaster, but after 3-4 rides on some of them, I'm out. But I was quite enthusiastic about Troy a few minutes ago. I'm a huge fan of Troy because I think it's the best wooden coaster in the world. It's purely awesome. But I'm also a big fan of Helix, which I think is such a great ride on the hillside of Liseberg, dropping right into the first inversion. That's totally awesome. So these are just the best steel coaster from the Helix, even though I love Phoenix. I love Phoenix, really. But still, Troy is my wooden coaster favorite, and Helix my steel coaster favorite.
to say no.
Yeah, it happens, but not that often. But if a reference track that we get is, sometimes we were asked to do a sound alike of a piece of music that we did for another part. That's something that we need to do now. Because we can do some, just to explain, there's a difference between doing a piece of music in a similar style and produce a sound alike. A sound alike is really very, very close to the original piece of music. Like we did for Schwabenpark on the Wilde Hilde. We took this popcorn song and made it into a slightly different own version. But if someone would ask us to produce a sound alike, Phoenix or Krake or Helix, that's something we can't do. We face all the critics and the feedback we receive from the internet that some of our compositions sound similar. Understand that. And of course that's true, because if someone orders orchestral music, other orchestral music sounds similar. That's clear. We have 7 composers and 7 different styles, so they still differ, but we don't want to copy ourselves. And we've been asked quite a few times to do so, and we can't do that. That would kill us, because how could a client ever trust us if we copied our work that we did exclusively for them? And like I said, music is such a personal thing, and you're insulting your clients personally and ourselves. We would betray ourselves. So yeah, that's why we say no sometimes. Anyone? It's time to eat? Huh? Or hungry? Yeah.
Yes, I think for all the, I've never heard all the IMAscore soundtracks, but for what I've heard, the music for Phantasialand is, I think, the greatest quality that I've heard of IMAscore. I'm curious, is there for Phantasialand another process you guys do than other theme parks?
Actually, no. What makes the music also on site very good is that they use, since a few years, they use very, very good audio systems. Something that is so expensive that it nearly doesn't really make sense to do so. Let me explain it. Of course, it's great for us if you have a great audio system on site, and it's great to listen to it, to the music, because you really hear every detail. But still, most of the theme park visitors don't listen so closely to the music. So you could ask yourself, makes it sense to install such an elaborate audio system, or is it, too much? But still, that's one point why it sounds good on site. Even though don't know if this makes a difference. No, the work process is not different in any way. I think the best answer I can give you is that it's yours. You say it's the music you like the most, and I don't think that it's the park that influenced us to make it the best. I think they just have been lucky that the music we produced for them, connects with your way of thinking of good music.
Yeah.
I think it's more that, because we have people saying the Toverland music we did is the best, we have Elizabeth music, and so on. Alton Towers, there are, from a point of view, if you look at YouTube, our most successful piece of music is For the Smiler. And really, I don't know who is listening to that all day, and they want a CD of that, I don't know why. But still, with, I think it's, 700,000 views or so. Why? Don't know why. There's so many nice music out there from us you could easily listen to. They still listen to 700,000 times. Don't know why. I mean, it's a thing for everyone. Everyone has to decide which kind of music he likes, and we're happy that if just one person says his most favorite music is from one of our newest projects, and it goes on and on. The next project, oh, this is my favorite music. Oh, this is my... Then it's right. Then it works. Because we can't produce a piece of music that everyone likes the most, and that we're fine with that. But even though there's one person thinking that our newest project is the best we ever did, it's all right. But that's a challenge. It's also hard for the composers. We always need to challenge ourselves. And it's hard to have this pressure in creating always something new and always something better, because music is music. How can it be better? But still, we try. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Welcome. Yeah.
So, have you ever had a project with like a client that actually didn't work out, so you just kind of like split apart and they got to another vision?
So sorry, I didn't get the
like,
end.
Have you ever had a client and like IMAscore and the client actually didn't work out, so you just had to like...
We need to separate.
Yes.
Then. No, because as we offer unlimited change requests, it's always a part of our quotations. We always grant every client the time that it needs to create a piece of music that he's 100% happy with. And as we are a team of 7 composers, we can, in the worst case, switch the composer. That happens. Sometimes also a client says, no, I hear that his style and his way of creating my music doesn't work. So we switch the composer. That happens. Of course, it also hurts for the composer to say, okay, no, I'm not good enough to produce music for your project. And then he needs to still be confident enough to work on the next project and try his best. So yeah, that happens, but we never split part with a client because we did not get to a result we're happy with, or he's happy with. No. Luckily. Hopefully it stays this way.
Laatste vraag, last question.
Can I maybe have the soundtrack of my request?
Yeah, I think it should be possible.
Yeah.
The song text, isn't it released yet? No, it isn't, right?
The song text isn't released yet. No.
We should, we should think about that. Because, yeah, it's great that people really recognize it, that there's really a song at Toverland, we are so happy about that. And it will be on CD now, so I think it's a good thing to release the lyrics for you to sing along. Record it and put it on YouTube, and then it's viral.
I think that's a very good idea. And what is also great, and what he doesn't tell himself, is that he wrote it.
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics. I'm the lyric writer. The only artistic thing I do at IMAscore is writing lyrics. So we had one song for an attraction, and that's all. Yeah. and parade songs. So blame on these. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.